Hello there, you're listening to the Box Office Show. I'm Ryan Hill.
And I'm Dylan Johnson. Today we're going to be talking about the box office numbers from last weekend and our box office predictions for this upcoming weekend.
We will also be unveiling the results for the 2024 box office draft.
I feel like I should apologize in advance. I feel like I'm coming down with something a little bit, and so I'm going to sound kind of rough this whole episode. I think I got a throat tickle of some kind from work.
Something's going around,
right?
So bird flu,
isn't it?
So
I'm just glad I didn't sneeze on you at all during pickleball or cough.
Indeed. So you will not be coming to movie night tomorrow, it appears.
Yeah, probably not. Anyway, let's do some news. The big news right now is everybody nominated for Oscars is canceled. Every single person. Every single one of them is canceled for different reasons. Everything's blowing up to hell.
This is just like Conclave.
Yeah.
I've been seeing all those memes going around. Tedesco hitting the vape.
It is a vape, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It was a vape.
It's so funny.
What is going on? Like, the brutalist thing of AI, like, that was just a straight up, like, Logia hippies. Like, they put that out there since, it was, becoming the front runner, at least on the side. And so now that calls into question some aspects of Adrian Brody's performance and Felicity Jones's performance, because they were using an AI tool, Respeecher, to help with their Hungarian pronunciation.
Bad. Not good.
That's rough. And then there's also the stuff about the architecture designs that we see at the end.
Mm-hmm.
That was created in, I forget the name of it, but one of those big AI ones. And so that's also very, very upsetting.
Yeah.
You don't know the exact title of the designs, like who came up with those.
Yeah.
Came up with the idea of putting it into an AI system, and then did the production designer know that when they were talking with the consultant that they were being given it? Who knows? I'm not sure what exactly the situation is there. But again, that's an increasingly common conversation, is what film used AI and in what capacity. There's a lot of things that used to be, just automatic or computer aided that now, because it helps sell things more, they slap the AI label on everything.
Yeah.
So now it becomes like this boogeyman of things that honestly, back like with search engines and stuff like that, which it's definitely gotten worse. Like Google definitely is much worse now than it used to be, but
really
it's always been an algorithm where they're like feeding you certain responses, but now they just say it's AI because that's the thing to do. So we see it a lot more everywhere. And definitely with artists, we're inclined to have a negative reaction to it. But some things I feel like are overblown, but some things, like for a movie about architecture, having designs that are not human created, especially when art is such a major theme of it, like that definitely will put a bad taste in some people's mouths.
Yeah. So if you were an Academy voter who was leaning towards voting for The Brutalist for like multiple awards, would these instances of AI be something that makes you not want to vote for them completely, like vote for somebody else?
It would concern me for sure. So I would have to, like, things with Adrian Brody's performance. Again, I was not really hinging on his Hungarian pronunciation, so that doesn't affect me too much.
Sure.
And honestly, because the designs, well, I'd have to say, if the thing that he's building throughout the entire film, if that was originally conceived in AI, that'd be a big problem.
Specifically, like the images that appear at the end of the film as like references to his later works as an architect that they do in like the 80s sequence.
Yeah.
Spoilers for The Brutalist. Whoops.
But that is less egregious because again, it's not like the centerpiece thing that they're building throughout the 3 hours of the film. But again, it
is kind of the like one of the emotional climaxes. I guess just after the emotional climax of the movie, but it is like the story, the ultimate end of the story.
Right.
It is sort of like it's supposed to be representative of his work.
Exactly. So
that doesn't seem like a smart idea to use AI for that specifically. I don't really care about the accents either, because they almost never actually speak in because it's Hungarian accents when they're speaking Hungarian specifically.
Hmm.
It's not when they're doing Hungarian accents and they're speaking English. And I don't think they even speak Hungarian that much in the movie in general, so it doesn't really affect me that much.
Right.
But it is unfortunate that like they chose to do that instead of just letting the flaws in their accents exist because they I feel like that would just be like I feel like they would have gotten close enough to where the only people that would have noticed are Hungarian people. And I think if a Hungarian person had made a YouTube video that was like their accents are inaccurate for this and that reason, I don't think I would have been like, "Oh, that's awful. That's they didn't get it perfect," you know. But I
Right.
would care more about hearing that they used AI to fix parts of their performance that were inaccurate.
Hmm.
I just rather like I feel like if I was Adrian Brody or Felicity Jones or someone acting in that film, if I found out later after the fact that AI was used to clean up my accent, I think I would be upset by it
Right.
because
I'm
I wouldn't want my
assuming
performance. I'm
they had
assuming they knew, yeah,
consented to it. Yeah.
but I would not have consented and I would not have liked that because I personally would want my performance to be entirely my own. It's like that thing in like BoJack where they replace him digitally completely in the
Hmm.
Secretariat film.
Secretariat. Yeah. So
Eventually, it'll
it's
just get like that. It'll become that.
yeah, but it's one of those things too. Like in my post production class that I'm doing right now, we've been having a lot of those conversations, and we talk about again a lot of the tools used to like denoise things. Like again, that's AI pretty much. It's
Yeah.
just generative AI is the big concern
Yes.
nowadays. But
Exactly.
there's also things being
AI gets
used.
used has been used a lot since
Yeah,
for like years now, and it's not really
absolutely.
a problem in that case.
For sure. But yeah, when there's like with Oppenheimer, we were discussing that, and I haven't looked into it, but our professor was talking about in Oppenheimer because they use those massive IMAX cameras, a
Mhm.
lot of the sound is just unusable, and so sometimes they'll just do ADR right after the fact. They'll just get some wild takes,
Mhm.
but sometimes they're just not able to do that, especially if it's like massive close up on Killian Murphy, as
Mhm.
that big scene in the gymnasium was like. So sometimes they'll just have to, do the denoise thing and try and get rid of what they can of the IMAX film just rolling like crazy, and then they'll use effectively AI to like fill in some of the vocal frequencies that are also taken out when they're trying to denoise it, and so
Mhm.
it's like some of what we're hearing as Killian Murphy's voice, a lot of it is actually him, but some of it is also just
Mhm.
frequencies that are being restored and generated from AI. So it's things like that that are interesting,
Yeah,
you know,
it's a very fine line to walk. Yeah.
nuances that are in the usage of AI. But
Mhm.
I don't know, some clear cut examples like just have an architect draw up
Yeah,
some
or just
sketches
an
here.
artist in general.
Yeah.
Just draw a picture of like a really nice brutalist building.
Hmm.
And like I don't know enough about brutalism to be like, oh, a real brutalist wouldn't have done this or that. If it looked like a brutalist building, it would have been like, yep, he drew that. That's a Laszlo
Hmm.
Toth original. Yep.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna be nitpicky about it. But other than that, I mean, we have the people of Honora getting like trying. People are trying to cancel them for not having an intimacy coordinator on set.
Hmm.
Amelia Perez is getting canceled by everybody and everything all at once.
Yeah, I mean that one. There's just multiple things happening at
Yeah.
once. Jacques Audiard doing, making some terrible comments, very ill-advised comments, and then um, Carlos Sofia Gascon. I don't know what are we doing in the year 2025 where people haven't gone back and erased their tweets, but she's left up those tweets. The other issue too, why it's so bad, is like these are tweets from like 2 years ago. Like, and everyone gets got for their 2013 tweets, things like that.
Mhm.
So you got to go back and like clean those out. But this is like 2 year, 3 years ago. You're making post pandemic and you're making these kinds of tweets. Like this is insane. Like very just racially insensitive comments here and there. I haven't like double checked some of the stuff because obviously it's not in English, so a lot of the stuff we're getting are like translations.
Mhm.
But she was also like insulting Selena Gomez like months before they ended up working together on the film. Um, so just a bad look overall to the point where she's obviously come out with a few apologies here and there, and then Zoe Saldana has had to come out and be like, these comments are unfortunate, and I don't think they're okay. the other thing was the Fernando Torres. She like threw out these accusations that people around Fernando Torres, her team, are making insulting comments towards the film Emilia Perez and then Gascon herself. And so it's just crazy. All
Yeah.
these different films that are like a new day and then something else comes out, something gets dragged up. Dude, Demi Moore, they're bringing up like decades old things of she was
Yeah.
kissing a 15-year-old
Yep.
as a 19-year-old. And also she was like dating someone else too at that point. And she's not even like full French. Like, I'd be like, okay, French people are crazy, but she's just like Canadian, isn't she? Or American?
I
Like
think
what?
so, but also that was like, I mean, there's no statute of limitations, or shouldn't be, I guess, but she's like 60 something now.
I know it was forever ago, but it's funny that again
That
we're just
15
digging
year
up
old boy might be
everything.
dead by now.
Everything is getting brought up, but it's just stuff like that. Which honestly, again, like stuff like that should not affect the awards race. Like it doesn't really have a bearing on their performance, but it also gets to
Gonna.
the point too of like you wouldn't want to vote for someone that again is like a truly terrible person, like Roman Polanski. You're not going to want to vote for him, no matter how good the pianist is.
Yeah,
So
what are you talking about? They did.
they sure
He
did. Again,
swept,
Hollywood did.
bro.
I would not, but they did not care and then gave a standing ovation.
Yeah, man.
So
Woody Allen won in 2014 for Midnight in Paris for best
well,
writing.
there you go. But nowadays, I don't know. We'll see how much this
Harvey
affects things
Weinstein
or
won how
not.
many times? Won Best Picture how many times?
Yeah,
Like 6 or something?
yeah, very rough. But I don't know. Some of these things that are getting brought up again, Zoe Saldana, they're bringing up blackface stuff
Oh,
when she's
yeah.
in Nina. Um, it's just insane. It's truly, truly insane. Again, the Adrian Brody stuff from the you
Yeah.
saw that his SNL where he was
Yep.
putting on the Jamaican accent and the dress and everything.
Yeah, they
So,
didn't have to do any AI correction on that accent.
so wild stuff. Definitely one of the most bonkers award seasons we've had in quite some time.
Who's hosting it again? I forget.
Conan O'Brien,
Oh, right.
the
He's going to have a
boy.
field day, man.
He definitely has so much material to work with. So we'll see
He's just collecting it all.
how he balances all of that. But
Should have gotten Ricky Gervais, man. Woo!
he would have gone to town for sure.
Crazy.
But we'll see how this all shakes out and whether or not some givens are now being taken away. Zoe Saldana, she's hoping that all this controversy will not cost her that Oscar.
I hope so, too. I still think she's the strongest contender. In terms of, like, I think I've seen all the performances that for Best Supporting Actress, I think. And I still think she's probably my favorite. But let's go ahead and do our box office breakdown for January 24th to 26th. In first place, Mel Gibson's Flight Risk with $11.5 million, which was, I think, a little less than I thought it was going to be.
I think you were coming in under 10 million. I don't
Really?
think you did not have faith in our new special ambassador to Hollywood, Mel Gibson,
And perhaps I was wrong.
or the desire for people to see Mark Wahlberg say, "You need a pilot."
Y'all need a pilot. God. I will stream it when it's on a streaming service just to watch the whole thing to understand the context of that line.
Oh, you let me know. You let me know.
What
how
if it
goes.
works really, really well in the actual movie and it just looks really bad in the trailer? What if
I
it's like
s-
the most hype part of the movie? I mean, I've seen the reviews. It looks like a really bad fucking movie.
Yeah,
But what if that's the best part?
it's possible. And it's not
Anything's
good, but it
possible.
could be better than everything else. So
Yeah.
just the meme alone, I think will make it stand out and be pleasant for you. But in second place, Mufasa with 8.5 million.
Followed by One of Them Days with 8 million.
Sonic 3, 5.3 million.
Moana 2, 4.1 million.
Steven Soderbergh's Presence, 3.3 million.
Wolfman, 3.2 million.
A Complete Unknown, 3 million.
Den of Thieves 2, 2.9 million.
And The Brutalist rounding out the top 10 yet again with 2.6 million.
Once again, another slow January going on, but surprisingly, all of our top 10s are over 1 million.
There we go. That's nice
People
to see.
are going to the movies.
There we are. All right, box office predictions for January 31st to February 2nd. We have 2 new films releasing, Dogman and Companion. So what do you think Dogman is going to get?
I don't know, man. It's the only kids movie out right now, really. I guess that's not true. It's still Moana 2 and there's still Mufasa, but and Sonic 3, but those are all things that have been out for a while. This is like the new kids movie, and this is geared towards a younger audience, I think, than all of those, except maybe Moana 2. Uh, I'm gonna say 12 million is my bet for Dogman.
Gotcha. I'll just say I saw some of the early projections for this film.
Yeah.
We should have drafted it for 2025.
What? No way.
It's a hit. Not that big of a hit. That's an exaggeration, but
Okay.
truly, it's insane. Like it might make 3 times your prediction right there.
36 million in opening
Yeah,
weekend?
that's
That's a
insane.
that's a big thing for
I did
January.
not know
That's insane.
Dogman had the hype like that, but
I know it's based on a book series, right? For kids?
I think so. There might be a show
Something
attached
like
to it
that,
as well.
yeah.
I don't know. But Dogman, Paw Patrol, they need to do a crossover or something because it really does make a lot of money. And then
Apparently.
Companion, what do you think this film will get? Little
I'm gonna
thriller.
say 8 million.
I like that prediction. I've been hearing
Right.
good things. A lot of again, people in our circle are film people, but a lot of people have been saying they want to go check this out. So it's getting good traction. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
9 million.
I think I will check it out at some point as well, though I might wait for a streaming service once again. Just because the only other movie I know these guys made was Barbarian, and I had like a lot of positive things to say about Barbarian, but it was also like I think it was a waste of my time to see it in theaters because I didn't like it that much. But it did have like good things about it that I thought worked really, really well. I think the first half of Barbarian's great. Not that I'm going to do a big Barbarian review right now, but I think Companion is something that I think looks more. Looks like it will make more sense. I guess the Barbarian stories didn't make any sense really, and
Hmm.
so I think I will check it out. I think they're good filmmakers, and I'm gonna watch it when it's on a streaming
Didn't we
service.
do a Barbarian episode?
I think we did. I think we did. So
Yeah,
you can go and listen to the Barbarian episode if you really want to know more about it. Because I doubt we're going to do a companion episode. A companion episode about companion.
probably
Huh?
not.
Huh?
Most likely not.
Okay.
But could fit into a grab bag in the near future. So
Yep.
be on the lookout for that. All right, let's get into the 2024 box office draft results. So,
Ba-da-ba-da-ba.
so we will recount what happened in our episode last year when we did the draft and what films ended up on what roster. Dylan, you won the coin toss,
I did.
and
I
so
did.
you are now you were able to pick your first film. What did you select?
Inside Out 2.
There you go. The Pixar sequel, 9 years in the
Yeet.
making. My first selection was Despicable Me 4.
And then I followed that with Deadpool 3.
Hmm. And then Moana 2 was my next selection.
I picked Joker 2.
And then I selected Mufasa.
And then I stole Dune Part 2 from you because I didn't want you to have it.
Disgusting, foul play. I then chose Godzilla X Kong.
And then I picked Mission Impossible 8. And then you went, I don't think that's coming out this year. And then I went, it's not? Fuck. I'll pick Kung Fu Panda 4 then.
And then I rounded out our selections with Twisters. So, what do you think would have happened if I just let you ride with Mission Impossible 8? Like, if you just, when would you have realized it's not coming out?
Pretty quickly, I think. And I would have picked Kung Fu Panda 4 or Beetlejuice at that point. And I think they were comparable totals. Either way, they were not the thing that made or broke my end total here.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Very true. And you ultimately, I mean, you didn't use your wild card at the end of the day. So,
Yeah,
it
kind of
wouldn't have
sad
mattered.
though. I like using the wild card. I think it makes it more fun, and I just didn't have the need to really.
Wow. You just had
Unfortunate.
such a big gross, you didn't need to use a wild card.
Yeah, I was just not even thinking about it really at this point.
First place problems right there.
Yeah. Now let's run through, kind of in order as they came out, what they were doing. So the first thing that came out was Dune Part 2. This movie did gangbusters because it made what, like 300 million more than the first one.
Yeah, 300 million more.
Yeah, blew my predictions out of the water. It made 714 million total as of today, as of a few days ago.
It didn't blow mine out of the water. I said that was going to get 700 million. I knew it had it in it,
Yeah,
and you bloody took it.
I'm
That should
surprised
have
you
been on
picked
my
it
roster.
over. You could have picked it over Mufasa, and it would have been yours.
Yeah,
That
I
would
mean,
have been
again,
my choice. I mean, I understand that Lion King made a lot of money, but I was not. I would not have put my bets on Mufasa. Really.
well, yeah. I mean, there was logic behind it,
Yeah.
which ultimately I think will basically pan out. Like Mufasa's gonna make the same amount of money. The issue is
Yeah.
just didn't make as much as I wanted. But
Mhm.
yeah, Doom Part Two, my love
Yeah.
was on your roster.
Unfortunate.
So
I do
hated to
want it
see
to
that.
be known that every movie on our roster this year, they were all either sequels or prequels. None of them were standalone films. They were all part of a franchise, and they were all the continuations of a franchise. Not even the start of it.
Indeed,
It was the
which
year of the
is
sequel.
pretty long running theme. I think only what one or two films in any of our rosters ever like combined were
Mhm.
original works. It's
Yeah,
just hard for originals to break out and to bet on them, you know. So
indeed. It's just really easy to know how a sequel's gonna do. You look at how the first one did. Next one's coming out. It's gonna do either a little bit more or a little bit less. It's just a good predictor, I guess. But
yeah,
anyway, after Dune Part 2 came out, Kung Fu Panda 4 came out. This was the last one that I picked. I didn't have super high expectations for it. I just needed to do more than like 350, 400 million to really be a solid hit. And it did better than that. It made 547 million as of a few days ago. And I am very, very content. Let me see if I have my paper from when we did the draft. Because I always write, I do. I write down how much I think a movie's going to make. I thought Dune 2, my prediction was 600 million. And
mhm.
then Kung Fu Panda 4. I didn't write anything down because I had written Mission Impossible. But Mission Impossible, I had guessed 600. If I had to guess anything for Kung Fu Panda 4, I wasn't going to say anything more than 400. But it
Yeah,
did better than that. It made 547.
it sure did. I was surprised. They had diminishing returns all throughout the franchise, and I would have thought without China being as big a factor, it would have been around the 400 million range, maybe even less. But
Yeah.
no, people wanted to see Poe back in action.
Yeah, they did.
And right around the same time, Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire came out, and it made 571 million, which is about what I was anticipating. I think my range was literally 550 to 600 mil.
Mm.
Would have liked to be surprised, positively surprised, with it going over that, but uh, at that point in the roster, I was like, this is doing what it needs to. It needed to match up with Kung Fu Panda, and
Mm.
it did. So
Yeah.
I was
And I
happy
had
about it.
put Godzilla at 450, so 571 was better than what I thought it was going to do, too.
Hmm.
So good for that one. And then we took a couple of weeks off, maybe a month or two. Nothing was clearly coming out. We were not really thinking about the box office draft. I was still gloating a little bit because, I mean, two of my movies had come out, only one of yours had. So obviously I was going to be higher, but I was higher by quite a bit, by like over twice as much, almost three times as much. And so I was like feeling, pretty good about it. And then Inside Out 2 came out, which was my number one pick. I had predicted 900 million for Inside Out 2. I didn't even think it would crack a billion. And it ended up making $1.698 billion. Billion with a B. A huge, whopping surprise of a success. I
Yeah,
did not think Inside Out 2 was going to do that much money. That's
it
insane.
was a juggernaut. I think
Yeah,
we
it was.
both knew like the floor was around 800 mil,
Mm-hmm.
and we were like, okay, it's got definitely 1 bill potential.
Sure.
But this is the highest grossing animated film of all time. No
Insane.
asterisks involved. It beat out Frozen 2 and it beat out the original and live action Lion King. So, like, it is truly the biggest animated film we've ever seen. So, that was huge. A massive point in your favor.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when I was getting a little bit worried because Despicable Me 4 I knew it was also going to deliver very nicely. It was going to be over 800 million for sure. And I was hoping after seeing Inside Out 2, I'm like, can this franchise also deliver a big mega hit well over $1 billion? And it did not. It came up just
Unfortunate.
short, 970 million.
And I had
So
predicted a billion for Despicable Me 4. I really thought Despicable Me was going to very easily cross that mark, and it did not, surprisingly.
yeah, so it was so close, but again, it just was not able to to break out more than whatever its
Mhm.
normal audience is, because this franchise has been delivering like 900 to a billion consistently. So it has its audience and they keep going for it, but it wasn't able to be a mega breakout like Inside Out 2. And then after that, my selection, I was gunning for a Top Gun Maverick of this year and a Barbie of this year. And I thought
Mhm.
Twisters had all the trademarks of it, right? A legacy sequel. This was in from the 90s, was the original film. It didn't have any of the stars coming back, but we had Glenn Powell leading this one, uh, Lee Isaac Chung directing. So we got someone uh, able to handle the camera. And I thought it would be a good old fashioned blockbuster in the vein of, how Top Gun Maverick was. And people would go out and see it, just want to get a break from the superhero blockbusters that we always get. And I was kind of right
A little bit.
for the USA, but people outside of America, they do not care about Twisters.
They do not care about tornadoes at all, bro.
Mm-mm.
They just don't get them in most other places.
So it's quite a shame there. I felt it, I chased it, but no one else did. So Twisters was quite a disappointment for me. 372 million.
Indeed. And then immediately following that, we had the Deadpool and Wolverine movie, a
Like
movie
1 week
that,
later, it was so
yep,
stupid.
something that had been on our radar for quite a bit as potentially a movie juggernaut. Of course, this is, I guess you could call Joker a superhero movie, but kind of not. This is like really the only superhero movie on the roster and absolutely the only Marvel movie because they've had kind of a downturn in their returns, which has been unfortunate. Obviously, Guardians did really, really well for you last year. But for the most part, Ant-Man and the Wasp bombed, the Marvels bombed, Eternals bombed. This is kind of a larger trend of it is getting riskier to pick superhero movies for sure. And so picking this one, it was my second pick. I think because Guardians did so well last year, I was pretty solid that Deadpool would also do good. It's a more popular property. It is a sequel to two movies that have made significant amount of money, like Guardians had. And I thought that the return of Hugh Jackman would be enough to make this movie kind of fly and soar and take it to new heights, even though it had just as much potential to sort of underperform, perform like a mid amount if it wasn't like a good film. I think it had just as much. I think it was a riskier pick for a second pick, but I went for it. And I think if I hadn't gone for it, I think you would have picked it pretty early on in your draft as well. Because I think
Well,
you
yeah,
would have
this
gone
was
for
the
that.
top three. Inside Out
Mm,
2, Despicable Me 4, and Deadpool and
yeah,
Wolverine. Those were like undoubtedly the top three.
yeah. And Deadpool and Wolverine made $1.34 billion, billion with a B. So a huge hit for Marvel, huge hit for Disney, and a huge hit for me, for this guy.
Indeed. So another strong summer for you. Let's look at the totals so far after you have four of your films out
Mm.
and I had only two of mine. It was, or I had three of mine actually. It was $1.9 billion. And
For
then for
Ryan.
you, Dylan, what was your number?
It was $4.3 billion.
So small gap there, a
Well
little bit of a
over
gap.
twice as much. You needed to clear $2 billion in your remaining two films. And then
Mm,
some because I also had another movie still coming out.
exactly. So the chances were slim, but
Yep.
there was a path to victory. I just needed multiple things to do extremely well. I needed Joker to bomb. I needed my replacement pick for Twisters to do very well. I needed Moana 2 to be an Inside Out 2 style smash. And then I
Mhm.
needed Mufasa Lion King to get close to or crack a billion. So
Yeah.
these are what I needed in order to win. Let's see how the remaining slate for 2024 played out with Joker.
Indeed. So I had predicted Deadpool 3 at 800 million, and I had predicted Inside Out 2 at 900 million, and both of those had overperformed my predictions by quite a bit. So I was feeling pretty good at this point. And then Joker 2, I predicted at 800 million, which was still lower than the over billion that the first one made, but I figured it would still do very, very good numbers because people are in love with this Joker. They would want to come out and see it. It was going to make a ton of money. And you got your path to victory kind of here with Joker Folie à Deux pretty much bombing. It made 207 million, which is drastically lower than what I needed it to get. It was kind of the first time I had gotten hit in this box office. Everything else had overperformed at this point. Even Dune 2 and Kung Fu Panda 4 had overperformed my predictions, just not as much as Inside Out 2 and Deadpool 3 had. And that kind of placed my final total nestling kind of around like $4.5 billion. So you needed 2.5 ish to cross over to beat me out. And with the remaining two you had with Mufasa and Moana 2, that was still a potential. So I was feeling a little shaky at this point, especially because you still had a wild card. So what was the choice you made?
So I threw off Twisters
Mm-hmm.
and brought on Venom: The Last Dance because there were two options: it was Venom and Wicked, really. But with Wicked, I still wasn't sure how exactly that was going to go and whether or not it would be a worldwide phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
So Venom, first one made 800 mil, second one had made 500 mil. And so I thought we're a few years beyond the pandemic. It's the last Venom movie. China will be in play. It'll release there. So this should be able to get over 500 mil. That's like bare minimum what I needed to do. And then there's potential of getting 700 mil, something like that. Again, it was few films in the superhero genre had come out this year. So I thought that would also work in its favor. It had some breathing room. But alas, it only made 478 million. So not a disaster, but it just wasn't doing what I needed it to do, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So that was tough. And then Moana 2 opened up and it broke records in the Thanksgiving week.
Yeah, it did.
Biggest
I got very nervous at this point.
biggest opening for any film and animated films during that corridor. And again, it was a sensation all throughout Disney Plus over the past few years, like the number one streamed thing, show, movie, otherwise, I think across like all platforms except maybe Squid Game and stuff like that. So I was like, this could be my big comeback. It could absolutely smash through all the potential issues throughout the remaining year because it's just going to be a holiday stretch all the way through the end of December. And then we still have most of January that it can collect money. So I was feeling like there's hope. There is hope. The one issue, Moana 2 was not very well received. Inside Out 2, by all intents and purposes, people love that film just like they did the first one. Deadpool and Wolverine, again, not the greatest film on earth, but it was
People
a
found
fun
it very
film,
entertaining.
and it delivered on what people wanted to see, which was Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds goofing it up as those characters. So they were able to be sensations, and fans went back multiple times over and over
They
again.
had legs. They had some pretty sexy
Exactly.
legs to stretch them out over a couple of weeks there.
And so Moana 2 had a massive start, huge beginning, but it did not have the legs I needed it to.
That shit
delivered.
plummeted.
It delivered on what I was hoping for. We needed to crack $1 billion at least to be competitive, but I needed Frozen 2 numbers. I need 1.4 billion, and it didn't quite get there. 1.03 billion.
Yep.
And it'll increase. These are numbers as of January 31st, but dang, it was not able to do what I wanted. So our final film, Mufasa the Lion King, coming
How
out
much
at
did it
the
need to do?
very end of the year. It needed to carry a whole lot on its back
Over
in order
$1
to
billion.
get me the victory. And it was opening against Sonic 2 and
Sonic 3.
Or Sonic 3, you're right. And then it lost the weekend to Sonic 3.
Yep.
It had a lower opening than Sonic 3, which also had a lower opening than Sonic 2. And I'm honestly, like with Venom and Sonic, both of those things had films that came out in like 2021, 2022, which was, more of the pandemic than now is.
Yeah.
And they did better. They had better openings than Venom 3 and Sonic 3 did. I don't know why.
I guess the pandemic wasn't affecting it that much, and diminishing returns really hit hard.
Maybe, yeah. I have no idea, but
I think especially in the case of Venom, at least, diminishing returns hit very, very hard. Of like people just don't care about Venom anymore.
I guess so. But that was tough. That was tough to look at, and I'm like,
Yep.
okay, doesn't seem
Hmm.
like we're gonna, because the original animated Lion or the live action Lion King had a massive opening.
Oh yeah, it
Like it
did.
broke record. It was over 150 million opening. It
Uh
was
huh.
insane. This one again, I think was like 35 million or something.
Bummer.
So a drastic drop off.
Looks like Dogman's gonna do better than that.
It could. It really could.
Good in
However,
January of all times. Deadjuary.
Mufasa was stalking its prey. Okay, it saw that little hedgehog run, and it let it tucker itself out. And then Mufasa pounced, and it started winning a couple of days here and there, and then it won a few weekends here and there, and it was having solid legs.
Yeah.
But was it enough? Because it made, as of our January 31st tally, it made 630 million.
Hmm.
So the final totals, Dylan, what was your total
Oh,
amount?
let's start with yours first.
Well, let's say yours because we don't know if mine actually made it. It could have done it.
My final total was $4.5 billion.
Exactly. And so again, my initial starting point was 1.9 billion, and I had 3 films left. Was I able to overtake you? My tally, an incredible, sensational, but ultimately short 3.67 billion.
That's right.
Tragic. Tragic.
God damn right.
I wasn't able to have the comeback of the century.
And what is the
Dang
difference
it.
on that? How much did I beat you by?
Dang it. So the difference was $829 million.
Fuck, that is a big difference. That might be the biggest difference since I think you beat me with Avatar by close to that amount a
Yeah,
few years ago.
it is. Well, I think you also got demolished in the first year too with Spider-Man.
Yeah, I know, but I
So
mean since.
yeah, well, since that for sure. Last year was much closer.
Mhm.
This year goes back to being a pretty hefty disparity.
That's right.
But
I'm just on a
you hate
roll,
to see it.
man. Wait until this year, man. I'm going for three. I'm going for three box office drafts in a row. We are now tied 2-2. You won the first two. I won these last two.
Hmm.
And now we got a tiebreaker game going, which is very exciting. Makes this year very, very exciting. The only thing that makes it a little less exciting is we have another Avatar movie coming out this year, and so whoever wins that coin toss is getting something very, very hefty here. Obviously, there was a path to victory when the second Avatar came out with Top Gun Maverick, so it's possible this year has something similar, another path to victory, even if the opponent has Avatar. And this is always possible that Avatar gets postponed again, which would destroy whoever's.
That would
Uh,
be so terrible. And
it would.
honestly, that would happen to me. That
It
would
would,
be
yeah. You get delayed more often than I do.
that would be my 13th reason because
Yeah.
that's just no way it happens again. Because Dune Part 2,
Hmm.
if it had come out the year it was supposed to in
Hmm.
2023,
Yep.
and it was part of my roster, I would have won that year.
Yeah.
It made 714 million.
Dune 2 screwed you over twice
It
because
did. Well, it didn't
because
really
it
affect
killed.
this year that much, but
It made
because
quite a bit. It helped me a lot.
it did. But Inside Out 2 and Deadpool, again, the difference was 800 million. So um, Dune 2 was not like essential this year. It's just salt in the wound that you had on your roster. And it really sucks because now we don't know if the release dates would have affected things, but again, November, I feel like would have been an even better release date for it, which is what it was planned in 2023. That would have been the difference. It was a difference of like 600 million. So I needed that last film to get over 600 million, and Dune Part 2 did it. God dang it. That's just so
Bummer.
sad.
Was there any chance at the point where you were deciding what you were going to use your wild card pick for this year? Was there any chance of any other movie coming out that year that you could have beaten me with?
No. This year, the only like major heavy hitter that came out in the fall and would have been eligible was Wicked, which did do extremely well.
Hmm.
Again, especially domestically, it had a huge opening. However, we saw very quickly it's the same thing like Twisters, and sometimes this happens with films. It's just a huge domestic hit, but the overseas totals are not comparable at all. So Wicked was a massive hit here. I think it's what gonna maybe get 500 million total. I think it has 400 million, 450 right now domestic,
Mhm.
and the overseas did not match it. If it did, that would have been crazy. Like
Yeah.
if it was Top Gun Maverick was, a 1-to-1 split. So if
Mhm.
that had been the same thing for Wicked, then oh, for sure that would have been a lovely pick. Ultimately, I still don't think it would have mattered much. I still needed Moana 2 and Mufasa to overperform,
Mhm.
and they just did not. So that it wouldn't have brought me to victory, but it would have brought me closer. But yeah, there was
Mhm.
no pick I could have made with my wild card that would have led me to victory.
So
I just
bummer.
needed to have Deadpool and Wolverine on my slate.
Yep. Let's call out some fun facts. This is the fourth year in a row, every single year, that the winner of the draft has had the highest grossing film in their roster. Of course, you won the first two with Spider-Man: No Way Home and Avatar: The Way of Water, and I've won these last two with Barbie and Inside Out 2. So
Indeed.
obviously, I mean, you get the heavy hitter. It's going to give you such a huge bump that you would have to have a really shit roster following it in order to lose that kind of a lead advantage. Because
That's
the
true.
heavy hitter, the highest grossing movie of the year, is usually highest grossing by several hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, it's usually far and away the big winner. The only year where the highest grossing film was not the first pick in the drafts by at least either person was last year with Barbie.
Barbie was my
That was
last
your
pick,
fifth pick, yeah.
my
So it
wild
was,
card pick of like I think this is gonna do well. I'm gonna pick it randomly, and you said sure.
yeah, I did not believe in Barbie. Um, but again, it was that Barbenheimer combo, which really brought
It
you to
was.
victory,
It
which was
helped.
upsetting. So again, the various things that
Oh,
happened there. Dune 2 getting
oh.
pushed, you picking Oppenheimer right before this massive phenomenon truly took off. God dang it.
I wrote a good wave right there.
Yeah, the combined roster total. So 2021, which again, still pandemic times, the total for both of our 5 films was 5.3 billion.
Which is pretty low when you compare it to 2022 with a combined total of 8.46 billion.
2023 was a little lower than that, 7.48 billion.
And this past year, we've dipped back up. I shouldn't say dipped. We've risen back up to 8.18 billion. Not quite at the 2022 heights because Avatar is such a juggernaut monster, but we have, I think, pretty obviously gotten better at picking the movies that are going to do well. I think as we list more of these fun facts, you'll see that we've gotten pretty accurate at predicting the higher grossing films. And I think I'm predicting that 2025 we will beat out that 8.18 billion
You
by
think we'll
another
hit
billion.
9 billion?
I think we'll hit 9 billion in a combined roster for 2025. I think it's
Nice.
absolutely doable, especially with Avatar pulling up. I think we will. Our picks have gotten so good that we will easily cross the 9 billion mark. Come on.
Yeah. And again, that also depends because the actual total of like, the total box office that uh, we make in a certain year
Mhm.
has, obviously dipped down during the pandemic times and then it sort of had this like bump back up. But it's fascinating that our, selections track pretty closely because I think 2024 ultimately is going to be higher than 2023. When you take all the films together, and I think
Mhm.
2025 has the potential for much higher grossing films. So I
Yep.
think it will be, um, yeah, just easier for us to hit 9 billion
Oh,
if we make our
significantly.
choices wisely.
Yep.
But this year, we selected $3 billion films of the three that made it to a billion. So that's the highest number in a single year so far. The past few years have been $2 billion films. This time there were three, and we had them on a roster.
Yeah, we did. We had four films grossing over 750 million. Is the same amount of films we had grossing that much last year, but Milo 2022's record high of seven films on our rosters grossing over 750.
That is
2022 was a
crazy.
crazy year.
Yeah, a lot of films are in that
A lot of
750
Marvel
because
movies coming
a
out
lot
that
of
year.
them got close to a billion,
Mm.
but again, only like two really got past it. But also, there's the one time we've missed $1 billion film with Top Gun Maverick on our roster. So
Tragic.
imagine if we had that. That'd be crazy. This year, two films grossed below 500 million. So that's one fewer than last year. And that now makes it the record for the lowest number of sub 500 films so far. So again,
Yep.
we've gotten better with picking higher earning films and also not having as much dead weight at the bottom of our roster.
Yep. And now to list out our rosters in order of highest grossing to lowest grossing. In first was Inside Out 2, of course, which was my pick, and Deadpool and Wolverine, which is also my pick, coming in second.
Moana 2 with top 3, and then Despicable Me 4 with 4th place.
Then following Despicable Me 4 was Dune Part 2, another one of my picks.
Mufasa the Lion King able to get in there at number 6, and then Godzilla X Kong number 7.
And then Kung Fu Panda at number 8.
And Venom the Last Dance coming in at number 9.
And trailing way at the bottom, Joker 2. One of our lowest entries in this competition so far, if not the
which is
lowest.
remarkable. It could be, no, I don't think it is one of the lowest. I think Wish last year was lower.
Wish was pretty bad, yeah.
Some of the 2021, there was like a lot of bad. I think My Matrix was worse, and your either Ghostbusters or Suicide Squad was worse. But
this is true, yeah.
Yeah, so
200 million is still pretty abysmal for a box office draft
in 2024, and that being a sequel to $1 billion film. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's quite the drop. It's one of the biggest, steepest drop offs I've ever seen a sequel have.
All right, and now
really
let's list out the top 10 of the year. So this is without any films from China. So take it away with number 1.
Inside Out 2, $1.69 billion.
Indeed. Deadpool and Wolverine, $1.3 billion.
Moana 2, $1 billion.
Despicable Me 4, $970 million.
Wicked, $719 million.
Dune Part 2, $714 million.
Mufasa, $653 million.
Godzilla X Kong, $571 million.
Kung Fu Panda 4, $547 million.
And Venom the Last Dance, $478 million, which means only Wicked was the non-roster film that made it in. Our roster had 9 out of 10 highest grossing films of the year, which is a record. There we go.
Man, that is awesome.
Mm-hmm. So if we included films from China, it would be 8 out of 10 because Venom would get kicked out by like just a hair. YOLO, the film from China, had 479 million.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah. We did really good this year in our picks.
Yeah. We always get like 7 or 8, but yeah, this time we got 9. Let's see.
And there was no way for me to know to pick Wicked. Honestly, looking back, when Joker 2 came out, maybe I should have just dropped it and picked Wicked. But I just wasn't thinking about using my wild card at all because I was so confident. Could you imagine if I had, though? I would have beaten you by another 500 million.
Yeah, that would have been stupid.
The only thing cool about it would be we would have gotten all 10 movies on our draft, I suppose. But still, I think wildly successful. I think I will be more inclined to use my wild card this coming year. I think if a movie does as bad as Joker did, I should absolutely replace it, even if I am in the lead, just to cinch my victory. Because I just didn't even use the wild card at all. And Joker was the lowest performing by far.
Indeed. Yeah, but you didn't need it at the end of the day. But I think it's telling that, again, we picked all the right films. It was just which one of them overperformed. Again, had I had Deadpool and Wolverine, it would have been a different story, would have been a little closer. Again, that may have affected. I think we do. We always say, like, depending on the coin cost, we always say what we would have chosen.
Did you say coin cost?
Coin toss. Could be the coin cost too. Look, I'm devastated. I can't speak, can't think properly. So the after we do the coin toss, we're like, okay, how would it have shaken out if the other person got first pick?
You would have picked Inside Out 2 first, yes?
I think I still would have picked Deadpool I would have picked Despicable Me 4.
Really?
You would have picked Inside Out 2.
Out 2.
So that would have been Deadpool and Wolverine. And then from there, because again, it's in our actual show. I think from there, things shook out in a way where I think I would have won. So if I had that first pick,
because I think I would have picked Joker 2 second. Still,
here actually probably okay. Yeah, if I won the coin toss, we had said I would pick Despicable Me 4. You would get Inside Out 2. I would pick Deadpool 3. You picked Joker 2.
Yeah.
I picked Moana 2. You picked Mufasa.
Yeah.
I picked Dune Part 2.
Yeah.
You picked Godzilla X Kong. Then I still would have picked Twisters. And then you would have picked Venom 3.
Yeah, but at that point, the only thing I would say that maybe would have made a difference is it would have been a closer game halfway through the year, and I would have been more inclined to use my wild card. And I think it would have been who picks Wicked and who picks Venom, since you
Right.
would have had to
You
replace
already had
Whiskers.
Venom on your roster. So I wouldn't have been able to pick Venom. So I would have been inclined after Twisters to pick Wicked. Possibly.
Right.
So that's how things could have shaken out.
You're
So
right.
I would have
Then
won.
You would have won, yeah. Now, Ryan, you've lost 2 years in a row now. How's that feel?
Well, I could ask you. You lost 2 years in a row
I
before
did.
me.
I
So
did.
how'd you
And I
cope?
said, never again. And I came back with a vengeance. And I
Yeah,
have
with
crushed you
freaking
twice now.
an insane stroke of luck with Barbenheimer Phenomenon in Dune Part 2. That's the one that just makes me so sad.
Partly
I
luck,
I would have
partly
enjoyed
winning the
having
coin
it.
toss, partly good choices. I think it's been equal parts of each. I
Mm,
think winning the coin toss definitely carries a lot of weight with it.
yeah, definitely is a solid advantage.
Yeah.
God. So we'll see next year again if I win the
Dude,
coin
winning the coin toss
this
this year
toss.
is
If I
gonna
win
be
that,
so fucking important.
yeah, I will be much happier. If not, we'll see. We need to run plays. We need to imagine. Okay, if we lose Avatar, if we don't get first pick,
Mm-hmm. We have
what's
to
the
run a
path to
different
victory?
game.
Like,
Yeah.
how can we do it? Because it's got to be flawless, pretty much.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be exciting to see how that shakes out. Again, I think it'll be very high earning, but depending on how things go throughout the rest of the year, because again, Avatar comes out at the end, so it's like,
Yeah.
how much can it make at the
And-
very end?
And will it get postponed?
That's
Because
true.
if it gets postponed by 1 week, it's already out of the year calendar.
Yeah, they would never do that. That'd be insane. But
They wouldn't, but I'm saying like if it gets postponed at all, it will 100% not come out this year.
yeah, which would be devastating. So
I don't think
There's
they're going to
some-
postpone it. but-
there's some risk involved. We will see. But I don't know. Super Bowl is coming up, and they're not doing a trailer for the Super Bowl. It's coming out this year in 10 months, and they haven't put out a single teaser. So it's a little frightening, a little
It
scary.
is a little frightening. There has to be like a plan B. For whoever gets Avatar, they have to have a plan B in case it gets pushed.
I just think, I don't know, like it would be so devastating to lose that because that's, again, one of your top picks.
Yeah.
So you have to replace it with number 11 at best. You go from number 1 to number 11. That's brutal.
rough. Yeah. But hey, the number 11 pick this year was Wicked, and that made almost 800 million. That's not a bad replacement. It is for Avatar, which is going to clear 2 billion, but you know, it could be worse for an 11th pick.
True. And we will see. Maybe Wicked Part 2 or Wicked for Good, they're calling it.
Yeah,
Will be on somebody's roster next year.
I think it will. Absolutely. That is all the time we have. If you'd like to give your thoughts on the show, you can email us at theboxofficeshowpod@gmail.com.
Our main title theme for the show is Sundown by Joseph McDade.
And if you like the show, please give us 5 stars whatever podcast app you're listening to, and be sure to tune in next week. Have a great rest of the day.